Hi everyone! Welcome to a new episode of Bo's Slow English. In today's episode, I will be speaking at a moderate pace. So not too slow, not too fast, somewhere in the middle. And today's topic is all about schools, universities, institutions, stuff like that. This was a special request from a subscriber, and I really appreciate when you guys send your topic requests to me because it makes my brain think. It really exercises. I would love to share my experience with you when it comes to schools, because believe it or not, I never graduated college. I do not have a bachelor's degree. I do not have an associate's degree, which is a two-year degree, I should say, usually from a community college. I will explain my experience, and hopefully I'm not going to ramble too much, which means talk and talk and talk. Before we get started, I have a few announcements. Number one, I have an ebook, and if you have not downloaded your free copy, the link is below. If you are interested in learning English quickly, you should purchase the book because it has 90 phrasal verbs. An example of a phrasal verb is I am laying down. I am standing up. These are important to know, and I have 9 categories in the full version, including a private YouTube video that you can access only through the full paid workbook. Number 2, big announcement. I have an 8-week speaking course. If you want to chat with me and have a real English conversation, please add your name and your email to the waitlist. The link is below. During the 8 weeks, we will meet one time per week for 1 hour, and I will talk, you will talk, and hopefully there will be 5 other friends and students who will talk, and we will just converse. Converse is a fancy word for to talk. And I was inspired to create this course from my previous French studies, and I love being in the group setting, but I never had a chance to speak to my peers. I read out of a book, I spoke to my teacher, but I never got to know my fellow students or my fellow classmates, I should say. So this is your one opportunity where you can do this in an intimate setting, which means a small group, and everyone is coming with different levels of English, which can be intimidating, which means nerve-wracking, like nervous. But this is how you learn. We will not have any books, no books at all. We're just hanging out, we're just talking. So if you're interested, you have to add your name and your email to the link below in order to receive the course details. And if the book and the course is not your style right now, you can join my membership, also below. And I post weekly videos and I will chat with my community, and only my members have access to this type of content. So let's be friends on there and join my membership. Please like this video to show your support, and please subscribe so we can be friends. All right, let's talk about school. And funny enough, I look like a student or a teacher, I guess. I don't know. I look like I should be in school. So as I mentioned, I never finished college. And what's interesting about living in LA, in Los Angeles, I have been blessed and I am grateful for the connections that I've made. Connections means relationships with friends and professionals. Because I never had a college degree, there was always a little bit of anxiety, which is stress, when it comes to looking for a job. But because of the connections that I've made, the relationships, and because of my hard work ethic, which means the ability to work extremely hard, I have gotten far in my career. And I want to share with you my schooling experience, and maybe you can relate to that. I graduated high school in America. It's around 17, 18 years old. Actually, I was 17 because I was one of the younger ones out of my friends, because when they graduated, they were 18 and we were all in the same class. And I did go to a university, a local university on the East Coast. I didn't know what I wanted to study, so I don't think I picked a major. A major is your study focus. Actually, now that I think about it, I might have almost majored in Spanish because I've always had an interest in foreign languages, and I had taken Spanish for 4 years in high school. However, I so I think about my abilities versus someone else's abilities. I compared myself to the other students when I was in college or university in my Spanish class, and everyone was so much better than me. I did not have the hard work ethic back then compared to what I have now. So I think I quit that Spanish class, but probably for a good reason, because the level that all the students were at, they were 2 levels above me, I think. Plus, they had a chance to study abroad. Abroad means internationally. Take a look at the word abroad up here in the caption. That is a weird looking word, isn't it? It looks like abroad, but it's abroad. Don't forget that. So I stopped taking that Spanish class, and I was just trying to rack up my credits. Rack up is a phrasal verb. It is a saying that means you are accumulating, you're adding up. So in order to get closer to getting your bachelor's degree and graduating, you have to complete your prerequisites, which are the basic core classes. In high school, at around the age of 16 and 17, my last year of high school, which is called my senior year, I chose to not take a math class because I do not like math. I appreciate math, but I need something more creative. Also, the math teacher I had was really mean and rude. So I did not take math in high school, and instead I took 2 music classes. I was in chorale or chorus singing. I was in an a cappella group in that class, which means singing with no instruments. And I was in orchestra. I played the violin. I have an aunt, or maybe sometimes you've heard the word aunt, but it's aunt is more correct. I have an aunt in Korea who is a violin teacher, and she gifted me my first violin. So that was my impetus, which means my driving force, which means my main reason why I took violin for about 8 years. I also played piano, but I did that at home, and unfortunately, I stopped playing piano after maybe 1 or 2 years. I was inspired by my other aunt, and both of them, they are called Imo, which is my mom's sister. And I wanted to share that Korean word, Imo, because I have a lot of South Korean subscribers on here. Hi guys! The reason why I brought up the 2 music classes into this topic is because since I didn't take math my senior year or my last year of high school, I had to take additional math classes in college, and that was considered one of my prerequisite classes or courses. While I was in school or college, I was working. I was working at a hair salon, and I saw that the people I was working with were making money. And I thought, why am I in school when I could be making money? I can't live off of my parents' money. I want to make my own money. So why am I wasting time in college? So I dropped out of college. Drop out is a phrasal verb, which means I quit college, and I continued to work in the hair salon to learn basic work skills, which includes communicating with clients and even holding a broom properly or the correct way, and learning how to handle money, and understanding how to stock the shelves of the products. Stocking the shelves means that you always make sure that the product display shelf has the appropriate number of products to be sold to customers. I learned a lot just from working. So from that point on, or that point forward, I knew that college was not for me, and I knew that was a good decision. And luckily, I have parents who are extremely lenient. Lenient means the opposite of strict. They allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do because they trusted that I will figure it out. So, while I was working in the hair salon, I wanted to further my career, which means move forward in my career. And that meant that I had to get my license, my cosmetology license, in order for me to actually cut someone's hair, or color someone's hair. I didn't want to be an assistant anymore. I wanted to have my own clients. So I decided to enroll or sign up in cosmetology school. Cosmetology is the professional field in which you do hair, skin, and nails. That is cosmetology. So when I was 19 years old, I went to a local cosmetology school. And now that I think about it, I guess I was always a very determined, goal-oriented, which means focused person, because I was very determined to graduate from cosmetology school in under 1 year, which is rare because most people, since they are working, they take longer than a year to graduate. I knew, though, that if I push myself, I can get this done in under a year. So I did. And then I took a state board exam, which is a state government test to get certified to receive your cosmetology license. Back then, I had to take a written test. Even though it was on the computer, it's still called a written test. And I had to do a practical test, which means I had to beg my friend to come be my model during the state board exam. And I had to do perm rolls. I had to blow dry their hair. I had to cut their hair. And while I was performing all of this, the state board proctor, I think that's what they're called. It's the person who is watching you and testing you. They're standing right here and watching your every move. It was a very nerve-wracking moment and time. But luckily, I finished and I passed and I got my license. So I am still currently a cosmetologist. A cosmetologist is the person who practices cosmetology. Before I move on with this story, I want to take a step back and talk about the enrollment process when I first inquired about this cosmetology program, because all the questions that I asked the administrator, they are probably just generic or general questions that anyone could ask to a school counselor or administrator, no matter where they're going. So one question that I asked them is, how much is the tuition? Tuition is the term for the cost of schooling. And I asked if they offered financial aid, which means that I did not have the ability or the means, which means money, to be able to pay for the entire cosmetology course up front, which means all at one time before school started. So I asked if they offer financial aid so that I could pay the school in increments. Increments means one at a time and over a period of time. So they did say that they offer financial aid, which means maybe every quarter, which is every 3 months, I would provide a check. And I think a lot of people did that because cosmetology school was expensive back then. I also asked them what their hours are. Their hours were Monday through Friday, and it was 9 to 5. However, if I wanted to do part-time, then I would have gone Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I think. But I did Monday through Friday, and then I worked on the weekends. The school counselor may ask me, or probably asked me, what is your goal? What would you like to accomplish at the end of this course? And I probably mentioned my goal is to be independent and to be able to make money and also make people happy, my clients, because when I see my clients walk out the salon door with beautiful hair, I helped to give them that confidence. I remember my first impression of the school was it felt very outdated. Outdated means old, like they need to renovate or redo the interior design. I wanted to explore other opportunities outside of the East Coast, and I wanted to try out the West Coast. So here I am. I moved to LA in 2009. So it's been a very long time since I've been here in LA. And when I came out here, I applied to many salons because I figured, or I thought, that it would be easy for me to get a job because it's LA. There's salons on practically every street. That is an exaggeration, which means there are many salons in this city. But I forgot there are a lot of people out here who want that same job. There was a lot of competition. So it was difficult for me to find a job, but I finally did. And I started building my clientele. Clientele is the list of clients. And I enjoyed it because I'm starting to accomplish my goal, which is having my own clients and having financial freedom. However, I get bored easily, and about 2 years in to my journey of being a hairstylist, I decided to go to college. So I enrolled at a community college in LA, and I had many questions for the guidance counselor because although I finished high school, I didn't take math my senior year. And although I went to college, I didn't even finish 2 semesters. I only finished 1. So where does that leave me today? And I had to ask them how many more prerequisite classes would I have to take in order to take the core classes to focus on my major. And because I was working at the salon and I was in school, it was really difficult for me to sustain both schedules. Sustain means to keep up with, which means to be able to handle both schedules. So, unfortunately, I dropped out of college again because not for the reason of I wanted to make money, but for the reason of I needed to make money. And the more time I was in college, the more time I was away from my clients. But when I was in school, I wanted to be a linguist, actually. A linguist is a professional who has an expertise in linguistics, which means the study of languages. So the fact that I am sitting here and I am teaching English is really mind-blowing. Like, that's what Americans do. It's mind-blowing because it's a full circle moment. A full circle moment means you have an experience and then many years go by and something similar to that original experience happens. And if you watched my previous video, I mentioned that the first language I tried to learn when I was very young, I was probably 12, 13 years old. I was definitely under the driving age. I tried to learn Morse code. Beep, 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 beep. It's the military language. So I always had an interest with language, and I always had an interest with helping people, and here I am. I'm doing it all. So if you enjoyed this autobiography story, let me know in the comments, and I would be happy to share more stories like this. Please share this video with any of your friends or fellow students and classmates if they are on an English learning journey. And I will see you next time. Oh, hi, Louie. You're a little late. We're waiting for you. Say hi. Meow. Oh my gosh, Louie. Get out of here. He's so silly. Okay, I will see you next time. Bye.